Good afternoon. My name is Marilia. I'm Director of Investors Relations of the company. It's a great pleasure to have you here, people who are here in person, and also those who are following us on this webcast. This is a very special day when we are going to introduce you our views of the future. This presentation is available at the site and the CVM, and this will be also the video will be available after the presentation. And if you have the QR code, you can follow with us. After the presentations, we'll have a Q&A session both for those who are here in person and those who are following us through the webcast, and you can use the chat. To start, I'd like to share with you the video of our CEO. Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the Analyst Day 2022. EDP is present in 28 markets. Brazil was one of the first and major one. We are leader in energy transition, 75% coming from renewable sources, and we are committed to be a total sustainable company. We want everybody to have access to a clean energy. And clean energy are crucial to build a new world. EDP is in Brazil for almost 30 years. And with 3,300 collaborators, we are present in all segments with an integrated portfolio. We have a different position in networks and management with the partnership with EDP. EDP Brazil has a solid results and positive trajectory with diversification of the group. In 2021, 21% of the consolidated EBITDA of the group came from Brazil. We implemented the ESG in the company was renowned in the B3 ranking as the first one. And we are promoting inclusion, labor safety, and the governance issues. This is through the seriousness that we dedicate in our work. Brazil has a great growth potential, considered the 13th largest economy in the world. That's why we are committed to lead the energy transition in Brazil, and we will continue to support it. Our investments are clear: to be an operator for this transition with our with commitment with the ESG goals, and be agile, efficient, with people engaged in this digital transformation. And this is also the moment of ADP Brazil that is in record levels. And finally, I'd like to say that I have a great confidence in our Brazilian team who had an ambitious view for the future. I wish you a very good event, and I hope we enjoy it. And you should know more EDP. We are proud of building this company day after day. Thank you. The message was very clear. It's important to highlight that Brazil is the second largest EDP market. I will just remind you our portfolio. EDP is an integrated company in Brazil, and we have 2.2 giga of installed capacity, zero point 0.7 of thermal and solar, 61% megawatt peak installed, and 61 AC already installed, and 21 in projects, and 209 CA with a partnership with the Monte Verde project of renewable energy. We have 2,500 kilometers in line. 500 are already in operation in trade. We negotiated 14 terawatt hour of energy and network, which is our core. We have two large distributors, EDP São Paulo in the Vale do Paraíba region, serving 28 seats, and EDP Espírito Santo in the state of Espírito Santo, serving 98% of the state. We also had 30% of participation in Celesp, that serves the state of Santa Catarina. Another video now of our new headquarters. For those who are watching us, the event is here. People who were present here had to, and the headquarters say a lot about the future of EDP. Welcome to EDP Brasil. The new corporate headquarters is ready. In the past, we had installations and then they put the plastic. And this project did not walk this way. It's a project aiming at people, and people were the core, the center of the project. It's very exciting to be part of this process and to be here. Not only see the works, but imagine how this is going to be. It's a great satisfaction. Neuroscience applied to this new concept, and we have the Fit Well stamp, which is the concept of bringing well-being with the architecture. So this was a project thinking on the human being being the center of everything. It was great to be accepted to work in a works with 30 days worth of demolition that meets accessibility in a such short term. Well, the mural is so big. The mural is 7 meters wide, and the composition has to do with the ideals and EDP work. It was really nice. We had a great synergy. It's interesting in this works is that we have several ways to work that seems that you are in a different place. You walk 20 meters, you go up to the Zemen, and this gives us the idea of having several different environments. This is the new headquarters, meaning our new future. Our headquarters is the symbol of our future. I'd like to invite João Marcos, our CEO, to present the future is an other. Thank you, Marilia. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here together, both in person and also through the webcast. So welcome, everybody. There is no presentation without a PowerPoint, and I'm not skip this. I will talk about the future, because as Marilia said, the future is open, and we want to build a future, but we want to talk about the future, but looking back to 2021. 2021 to our company, for those who work here, and all the shareholders of EDP Brasil, I never forget the 265 Brazilians shareholders of the company, a company in the energy company that has the highest number of individuals as shareholders, and this is good. The number is on the screen. More than 35% of total shareholder last year. We had the record of dividends with the unit value of R$ 2.19, giving a total of 1.3 million. We were able to rebuy the own shares, and we are rebuying also assets. This was the year that we used our business and created value. We use our business gaining EDP Goiás, the old MGTE, also the batch 1 in the auction of July, and the alienation of 3 transmission batches. And we were able to deliver uh, batches to the electric system, batches 18, 21, 7. In total, they got into operation. We grew in our business. We grew in distribution, and we are basically doubling the investments in distribution compared to the investments of 3, 4 years ago. The investments of approximately of 600 million reais per year in distribution, and the objective is to double this. We invested 1.1 billion in distribution last year. We are expanding also the solar. We want decentralized. We had this in the Innova portfolio, and 40% in the Blue Sol, a great partnership investing in plants, solar plants. And we are investing. We have already invested, and right now, as I speak, we are working in a very short term to have new joint investments in short term. We expect to have one more project in the southeast, and until the end of the year, a third project in the northeast region. We did all of this reducing the water risk. I don't have any capacity of getting into your minds, but you are wondering, what about the hydro? Uh, But this is not a Q&A. The selling of the hydro is happening, but in the Godfather on Friday, we received several entities' proposals to acquire this portfolio of hydropower, and in April we will make our decisions, and we are certain that we will select one or two partners for this exclusivity phase. So this 3 hydro will become at least 2. So this is going on. Well, Brazil is your country. I'm a privileged man to be a guest in your country. You should be proud of your country in many situations, and one of them is this one. Brazil holds 84% of has 84% of renewable energy, including hydro, and going well with other countries, including the average of the world. So Brazil has a natural vocation to lead the energy transition. And now the market. Well, this is the future that we are prepared and we know how to participate in this future. It's clear that we know how to have the how to deal with the pressure of the system, how to interact with technology, the several business models where the consumers will be simultaneously producer. We want to participate in this future. We know how to do it, and we hope it happens in a sustainable way and as soon as possible. This picture, you see, it full of energy. This is our future. This is our vision. And I summarize this as follows. We want to be in network. Networks, they are essential for energy transition and for the liberalization of the market. We have two networks or grids that we manage, São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, and we want to participate in other opportunities. Any opportunity in distribution is our obligation to analyze, and we will do this. Transmission, very important. Renewables in the Northwest, they they require robust transmission lines so we can have to the great demand centers in the Southeast. We want to be present in transmission. We will participate in the big auction in July. And energy transition, we want to be always in the future. And solar is part of the Brazilian future. Solar as distributor transmission, what else? We want to increase every year. We have as an objective to add something as 2 solar plants that accounts for 500 megawatts peak per year. And hydropower, the reduction of exposure, we are reducing. We have a lot of assets, but we want to exchange less hydro generation and more solar. Thermal is trading is very important. This will make feasible the solar investments. Thermal, the objective is until 2025, we will disconsolidate our charcoal coal plant. Hydrogen, this is the future. We want to have assets. We want to have buses moved by hydrogen or electric, and also plants, large plants for exports. And clients. Clients is the center of everything, as we know. And clients today are in distribution. In the future, they will be even more in this free market. But we should not forget that 1/3 of the energy consumed in Brazil, as of today, is traded in the free market. These are not individuals, but legal companies.
All this should be done with financial discipline, our dividends policy, which is a policy that is clear, it is stable, and will remain itself. Why did we have 2.19 cents? Because we applied this dividends policy. So how much are we going to get next year? This is what's going to result from our dividends policy rule, ESG. It is extremely important because these are not words, these are acts. These are not only ideas, it is a system where one plans actions and goals and checks the results reached. We believe that we have a very agile and efficient organization within a large world group. EDP, and Brazil is the second in 28 of the markets it's in. So some things there are some businesses in Brazil is the first one in the world, right? Perhaps soccer. We will see this in a few months. But to be the second country in 28 countries just shows how the EDP group is engaged with Brazil through EDP Brazil. And the future is, in fact, it in fact belongs to all of us. And since I'm talking about people, this is a wonderful moment to give the floor to our ESG and People's VP, Fernanda Pires. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll talk about the sustainable future. And I will talk about future because we understand that to talk about ESG is culture, consider environmental, social, and governance aspects. The way we do things, we are aligned with ESG. We want to lead the energy transition. It should be fair. So the ESG is critical for this journal, driven by values. And here we're going to talk in more details about our cultural program. As soon as we've launched the 21-25 business program, this is where we revisited our culture program to sustain our strategy. And also we're going to talk about our commitments into actions. I'm going to talk about the actions, some concrete results we've already accomplished in our agenda. I'm going to talk about culture. We reviewed our program and we are EDP. The word we are, somos, okay, in Portuguese, ESOMA, S for summing up. It is a value that we have to create with others, value diversity, promote balance, and a more sustainable society. And some examples of these values here that happens every day is diversity. It is structure. We have a robust governance for diversity and inclusion. Some concrete examples. Last year, we had 1/3 of our professional composition is women. We've managed to get to 20% at the end of this year and have attained this goal this year. So we anticipated this challenge and also entrance programs looking more long term. We were pioneer in the electricians school for women in 2018. Some companies have the same model. And at the end of the last year, we were the first company to create this electrician school model focused on transgender people. And so this is a commitment to create real opportunities so that these people can leave statistics. Engagement. We are highlight here. We have a high level of engagement compared to indices in other companies that are above average. there are a benchmark, and also just how many people are proud to work in EDP. And since we're talking about being a sustainable society and climatic change, we are the only company in the energy sector in Latin America that had the maximum performance in CDP, showing the robustness we have in terms of governance, risk management, goals aligned with science and transparency in our balance sheets. So here we want to look at ourselves, society, well-being, future vision. So here we can stress a work model, the hybrid model. Whenever possible, part of our activities has to be done at work, but that doesn't need to be done at work. We're very flexible with workspace that contributes to well-being, pleasure. This headquarter was built with a neo-architectural concept, space that stimulates creativity, a way of bringing about well-being and capacity to bring about people. Ethics, we've been acknowledged for the 8th year, 8th consecutive year for being transparent. Social impact, we can talk about the 2030 agenda. We have the sustainable cities, and here we also have the preservation of the natural and cultural heritage connected to the mission of our mission, access to culture through one of the fronts, which is to redeem the historical heritage, right? So we participated in the reconstruction of the Brazilian Language Museum, also the Ipiranga Museum, and also in other initiative resuming story, rescuing history here, and other countries too. We're also participating in this initiative together with BNEDS, other projects that are linked to the fair energy transition. Some programs linked to inclusiveness too. Our value, change, recognize and assume risks. Innovate is also a value. We talk about innovation, but considering risk management. So here we are recognized once again as being the most innovative company in the electric sectors. But we're very robust in terms of risk management. We are reassessing our risks and ESG metrics, because if we look today compared to some years before, we can give the example of social dimension. Some social risks bring about other effects in terms of reputation, financial impact to companies. So this is an agenda that we always have to look at in order to consider cybersecurity, digitalization with regards to what happened in the pandemic. Also, the crisis in Ukraine and Russia has increased the risks here. So here we have a very proactive agenda looking at these risks and trying to check how to mitigate them. Also, we have the first hydrogen green plant, and Luis Octavio is going to talk about this. Regarding again, organize, which is our second to last value. Organize processes, efficiency, results driven, and also transparency. Safety is our first principle. So here we did a long journey, and we are proud that we have high level of maturity in safety. When we look at internal benchmark, we want to extend this safety culture for companies that work with us and our partners. Efficiency, it is in our DNA, but this is a transversal point of view. We want to have efficiency here so that we can anticipate, identify opportunities, processes, new technologies that bring about more efficiency to our business. And also here, basically, this is the objective here, which is to make our operations more efficiency. We have a journey here, and we anticipate transmission batches, as you know, as you well remember. Lastly, simplify things. This is so that we can have the conditions to go for new business and opportunities. Simplify our Germany. Here we're talking about the digital part. Every year we do an assessment on our digital maturity. We have high level here, and also we have some VPs and VPs in our business areas focused in improving the experience of our clients. Technology, we are reviewing systems and flows, identifying new technological solutions that prepare us even more for business and clients. This is a specific digitalization front in terms of this for our clients in our distribution. Since I don't have much more time and I'm going to go even faster now, I can't even look, we can't go into the details of these slides, but we have full action axis. Details of these objectives, commitments, and actions are in the IR side, but this is to show you the system mentioned by João. The main axis: lead energy transition, commitment with the environment, positive impact in society, and strong governance structure. Here we have some commitments established considering 2025. First axis, reduce emissions, scope 1 and 2. We also want to increase installed capacity in photovoltaic and solar energy, environment to use waste, so a positive impact in society. We have gender diversity, increase procurement, considering ESG criteria and ESG classification. And here we have some examples of some initiatives that are in the side, and you will be able to look in more details. Here we have concrete results. We had decarbonization goal approved by Science Based and Targets, Performance A in CDP. Also ongoing is a circular economy program to use good waste, structuring of our climatic adaptation program, sustainable procurement project, and also we were the first in the entrepreneurial sustainability in Brazil, and also we disclosed our ESG results every 3 months. These are just some tangible examples showing that we have a system that allows us to have the results we've been able to reach in ESG and also being a benchmark in the market. And here is a part that also contributes to the scenario. It's a journey that doesn't begin today. The ESG agenda is already part of EDP for many years. This is a performance model we implemented in 2016, allows to see the fruits of the journey and allowing us to raise our challenge for the next years. We have an integrated vision that not only considers financial dimension. We have goals impacting the variable payment of people in 3 dimensions. Future-prepared organizations, added value, and also excellence in ESG. I conclude my presentation here. I'm at your disposal for answers, questions and answers, and I would like to thank you for your presence. And now I give the floor to Luis Otávio, who will talk about The Future is Connected. Good afternoon, everybody. So, I'm going to show you what we do in the shop floor. But first, I would like to ask you, the future after the pandemic. What will be the company ready for the company? What results during the pandemic to have companies manage to conclude? Because to talk about the future some time ago would be completely different than to talk about the future now without knowing who the players are that manage to play the game with the pandemic, changing behavior, ESG, working from home. How have CapEx here with more than 10,000 on time, on cost workers? Who's going to answer these questions? I hope you are the ones that are going to answer these questions. I hope we can say that to make the future happen, we have to make the present happen. And this is the first great message I can give to you. To do with what? How? So who are we? We are in distribution two companies that have a future that is completely balanced. When we talk about the free market, it knows 50% of the market is free. It already works with free market. It has a balance between residential, commercial, distributed energy, two different areas. One that is balanced with IDH, that is second in São Paulo, another one in Espírito Santo. And it seems to me that we have regions where the strategy helps us to be able to have the best possible from both areas. And for this, independent of what happened in the last 2 years, we have decided to continue and to advance, to do profitability with quality. However, we advanced. We went from capex of 1.1 billion in 21, a capex between 1.3 and 5 and 2022. Is it balanced? I ask. Part I included in growth. So look at the colors of these bars here. Market, improvement, and losses. Are they balanced? We answer this with a balance in order to see to the market with quality, right? So this is a strictly greater volume than what we did in the last few years. However, we understand that the main here, talking to the shareholder, the main thing is profitability. We have we have the smallest part in Brazil, share in Brazil. That we invested, 0.5% was lost and the other was used. So since we have numbers, two-digit numbers, I think this is very reasonable for the investment. A regulatory EBITDA with 8% growth. A QRR rate of 2.5 to 3. This means that we believe in our concessions area. We believe in improvement. We believe in technologement and also the new. However, so much money invested. Did it bring about the results, efficiency? We had a classical relationship between tax and FX in 21, from 10th to 22nd place. In 2021, we became 6th and 14th place. Where do you want to go to? I think that vice championship is not a good championship. We want to get to the top. Should this bring us to the top? Yes, we believe on this in our daily work, representing a direct and indirect labor of almost 10,000 people. Our belief is to be first in profitability and quality. Losses. Did we have efficiency here? We went from 8.57 and went to 8.30. I'm talking about 1 year. And we went from 13.89 to 12.45, going after regulatory losses within the year of 23 and 24. So we are fully revising the tariffs of EDP in EDP Espírito Santo. We delivered all the documentation, everything that had to be done. We gave it to the regulator. Next year, we're going to have a new tariff revision in São Paulo, and we're very good about this. There's no special group here because this belongs to our daily work. And now I will get to improvement initiatives. We have digitalization, looking at the client, PIX digitalization, going after social tariffs, drones in 100% of inspections, and robots used too. This is new. Without the new, we're not going to have the future. It is innovation.
With, and we have an operation center. We bet on re-adequate the company and its staff, and we created a spaceship in São José dos Campos, a spaceship that has 100% of online management and telemeasure, and it's a deep change in labor with digitalization and others. And in the grid connecting regions with economic growth, we'll talk about transmission. I will go fast, okay? Transmission. Today we have on time on post 500 kV, the great uh, batches in Serra da Mantiqueiro, Serra do Rastro in batch 21. We have the batch Q in Rio Grande do Sul and Maranhão. And the rotation of assets building two batches and what we had in Espírito Santo. What we proposed to the market to build, and we built, and we have a RAP of 800 million. The OEM implementation is a benchmark. The engineering technology used is of first line helicopters, the drones launching, the heavy structures. We have 500 kV, 15 new substations. I will talk about the CLP, because in a very short time we had the payover of Goiás. João mentioned Goiás, 14 substations, 756, totally balanced, so balanced that in 1 month it will be operated through that spaceship in São José dos Campos. So in a few months to put the PDV plan on air, like we are doing, and how we approved. This means that management is a point. We are not any newspapers headlines and hydro generation. We are here. We know all the places in this country. With this, we learn how to build, how to manage a capex, and we learn how to know Brazil, Amapá, Tocantins, and the border of Pará and Mato Grosso, 2.2 giga of hydro generation. And the best of it is that we did it very well because we still have the first and second best hydropower in Brazil. So, well done. We have the PECEM thermal, and you know that what the group wants to do in a short future that saved the country with this patch. We have water, but we have a shortage some time ago. And finally, I'll tell you the story of the hydrogen. Well, we want to produce the first molecule of hydrogen in the country. This is the story of a coal plant, and we worked inside it with hydrogen. We think it will be the first. We have other studies to create market. We did not advance with hydrogen because the market is not ready for the next step. But we believe that to produce will be ready. Why? Because we acquire what we had to acquire. We have the equipment to do this, and we hope that December will bring us this first molecule. It's impossible to do this without people. Fernanda said, what changed? If we look, if I look when I had some hair, I didn't have any smartphone, and today I see I'm losing hair, but the speed of things happen and the speed the company has to go. I ask you, are we in the pace of a generator, transmission company, and distribution company that represents the future? Since the future is solar, I'd like to invite Carlos Andrade. Many, many thanks. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I will talk about solar generation and the future. Fernanda, is everybody mentioned this. Uh, the solar increase in Brazil is exponential. We have a picture. This is the projection of the PDE for 2021-31, composed growth of 14%. This is the sum of distributed generation and centralized generation. This growth will be greater in the first year. This will be greater than 14%. This will drop slightly, but anyway, it's an exponential growth. We want to be in the market and lead this market. Our objective is to get 1 giga of installed capacity. This will provide us 5% of solar in Brazil, some distribute and centralize. This is even more significant if you consider that 2025, half of the blue is the distribute, half of this 19 giga is the residential market, a market that we are not. We are in the commercial market, but we have a participation in a company which is a future bet. If you consider that half of it is residential, this 1 giga of capacity is even more significant. And 90% in 2025 of the distributed generation is in the small plants. It's not generation, but we have 40 in small and mid-sized companies. This is a market. This is growth. The objective is to get 1 giga of the installed capacity. We have a comparative advantage. Solar irradiation. The lowest solar radiation in the south of Brazil is much, much bigger than in Germany, where you have some good production. And also the land extension in Brazil allows us to expand solar. We have some Brazilian companies listed here looking for energy security because we're seeing some problems with the NECG and to be competitive in the long term. These companies are betting on the centralized and distributed solar, looking to reduce their costs in terms of what they pay to the distributors. The net return, you see, basically you discount what you have with the distributor. But what is the main message here? Centralized generation is our comfort zone. We do great projects, but why we have several competitors that are not looking for distributed generation, and we are looking exactly for one point here, which is the preparation for the liberalization of the market in Brazil. In distribute generation, we are scattering small plants, and we are doing this. We are doing this in United States, Asia, Europe, and these small plants here in Brazil, they have the shared generation with the SMEs. When the clients can buy energy, we will have millions and millions of clients all over Brazil. That's why we have in this distributed generation. We reached the 75 megawatts peak with the large clients, plants above 1 gig mega. All clients are big banks, telecommunications towers, and several other companies. And in this market, we reached 12% of this market above 1 mega. We have 600 megawatts peak installed. With 75, we have 12% of this market. But this is not a niche of great growth. The one is this the second phase, the SMEs. We have several plants in Minas Gerais, São Paulo, Espírito Santo, Rio Grande do Sul, that we are expanding this shared generation, bringing several SMEs in the same plan. Well, shared means the client can use this production to discount the bill. In addition to this growth, we also have the participation of Blue Sol. Blue Sol operates in the residential market. It doesn't make sense for us to invest in the residential market. It's a too big effort. So we put invested 40% in Blue Sol, which is not enough to control and suffocate a company that is growing rapidly, but 40% is big enough for us to have the right a seat at the board of the company. And this is a bet in the future. The company is growing very rapidly, 27 megawatts last year, with 210 franchisees in Brazil. Within 2 years, when the market is liberalized, we'll have clients all over Brazil. So these are all prospects for us when the market is open. So this is a very good area market. Now, centralized generation. We have a partnership with EDP Renováveis, and Renováveis is our solar distributor is EDP Brasil, 100% of the projects in centralized generation, 50-50 with EDP Renováveis. This is a pool of plants. We have teams to develop large plants in Brazil and over the world, and we are a commercial machine. We are leader in trading here in Brazil. We have clients, and the centralized solar is a market for this. The combination of the commercial capacity of EDP Brasil and the capacity of developing projects of EDP Renováveis make us a winning partnership. We negotiated 200 megawatts in the Northeast in Monte Verde, half with the trading and half with the clients. We have a new project called Novo Oriente, 250 megawatts here in São Paulo. And we want to close the PPAs and contracts for this project specifically until May. This is the second project we have together with Monte Verde. We have another two projects being developed. As João mentioned, our objective is to have one or two projects per year in centralized. In innovation, we are ahead. I exceeded my time. I'm sorry, but EDP is ahead in innovation. I don't know if you know, but we are the most innovative company in the electric sector. Valor Econômico has an award, and for the second year in a row, we are the most innovative company in the electric sector. We are one of the companies that invests more in innovation. We have more than 218 million reais invested in innovation, which accounts for 50%. The electric sector invests 1.4% a year of the net operational revenue. We invested more than 2%. The most innovative company invests 3%. Our objective is go beyond these 3% and to reach the international levels of the most innovative companies. And these are the main areas of investments of this value. Every investment in innovation is accounted so we can show exactly where we are investing. And these investments are made through our investment vehicle in startups, EDP Ventures Brazil, and the other is CapEx and innovation. We have 8 investments, including Blue Sol, but these are startups working on distributed generation, renewable sources, digital electrical mobility. We have 8 investments in startups, and this is increasing. We have a company, Fractal, that will compete with us and the other traders in the digital market of sale and purchase of energy. We have 100% of the company in venture capital, a company that will compete with us, but we are investing to learn with them or from them. We have also integration of innovation. We have we are investing in collab. Our consumer can take pictures. If you have a fallen tree, you can take a picture and send directly to the distributor, and the company can meet that demand. This is the great role of innovation for us at EDP, to help the business to develop, to be more efficient, and generate new models, new services and products, and new business model. This is the role. The relationship with the client will transform the electric sector. So we are behind this with solar and innovation. We believe that we will be leaders in this market during this decade. And with this, I'd like to invite Henrique Freire to say if our future is profitable. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So we will talk about some numbers here. I know many of you I don't want to make this results earnings release, right? The interest here is to talk about a financial strategy, but we would like to convey you some messages in terms of our financial results highlights. So the future is always profitable. And also considering that our results for 21, where in any of our numbers, our lines, our numbers were very solid results. EBIT, almost 30% growth, profit 43%, capex 28% plus. It, it is to have a capex above the levels, right? And all of this when we consider our cost basis, low inflation. So anywhere we look, these are good. Gross margin, PME gross margin. This is a good measure of profitability. We've had this permanently. We had this 10 years ago every year. We've had a positive evolution here with this indicator. This allowed us to pay dividends. It's important to stress, following the dividends policy, we paid a dividend of 2.19 reais per share. It was the greatest dividend in our history, but it was because of a policy focused in a simple communication. The logic is to distribute at least 50% of net adjustable net profit, and it is clear in our policies. These are non-cash events. And also, an important point, a sweet spot for leverage. We want to have a leverage between 2.5 to 3. So we balanced our dividend here. And also, we have a share buying program. The first part has been concluded, and the second is ongoing with already almost 40% as results. A TSR of 35%. This was a sensational delivery. Obviously, the valuation, the appreciation of the share in the market certainly helped. So now let's talk about how we prepared and our investments. Let's talk about debt. The distribution of our debt, 7.19 billion reais. But last year we had issues of almost 5 billion. We began with some instruments based on 4131, removing the volatility of the exchange market. And today we have 70% of our debt base, is in debentures. This is proof of the market. We had CD issues, corporate in our older water plants, emissions of EPCA in transmission lines. So we have a reading that the Brazilian market is important. There is a huge gap between things that are in real CDI rates. This is consistent. This allows us to base ourselves in CDA. And it is also important for assets here in distribution. And the logic is more corporate. So all of this is at a global leverage level. So this helps us have a midterm advantage here because of this gap and also because of CD. So efficiency agendas. Financial area has had a coordinating role here in our efficiencies here. We would like to stress here we had robotization, many other technologies we used that allows us to have efficiency levels. Year after year, we've had gains. When we look from 15 to 21, almost 400 million reais in official gains. In the back, we projected a gap of almost 400. Here we're talking about almost 40% gains. From here on, we continue with initiatives. It's agenda that is continuous, but this is something important that we'd like to stress. This is nothing that we discovered. These are small, hundreds of measures implemented one after the other. And these measures grow, and the result at the end is very solid. Now, with regards to the rotation of assets and recycling. So here we have last year's slide, which was in our last year's Analyst date. There we showed clearly what we wanted to do. We said we wanted to do the rotation of assets. We had an asset portfolio of around 15%. We have this portfolio, and investment today is 7.8% when we consider new auctions in Greenfield. We did this selling 3 assets, transmission line assets, 3 million. Also, I'd like to remind you that this, when we look in terms of capital gains vis-a-vis the debt, this is the bench's debt, and we did a 1.3 billion sale. This had happened in the construction margin, more than 300 million. Effectively, recent investments, we sold the value of the equity very recently, so we tripled this. So we have the new transmission auctions. We maintain our line in these auctions. We decided to go to auction. We gained a lot in Acre, and we will deliver this in 2024. And we also bought, CELG T. You see the rotation of assets. We have multiple type of EBITDA, and construction deadlines. We gained here in this comparison. So this is a strategy that we declared that we were going to do, and we've been able to do this very, very well last year. It's not only with translation we live from. We have been very active here in the solar market. We bought a portfolio and a share of Blue Sol, and the water plants. João spoke. We declared our intention of reducing our hydrological risk exposure, and we've been able to do this. We've been very successful here, and we've advanced here, and we are convinced that this is going to be even more successful. Investments. Luis, he referred to this. Here we have an idea of our investments. It's around 11 billion here for 21-25. This is a business plan focused on distribution. This is capex allocation, solar generation. We're investing here, and after transmission, the conclusion of our assets, and then we have the assets rotation, and we're going to talk more about this. So let's continue. Now, capex in distribution. Here we are show you how we monitor this project after project. We assess the profitability of all our projects in distribution. It is not done randomly. There are financial assets linked to this. And the more we invest in distribution, the more profitable it is. They have to be in stacks, the investments, in this order. Risk, mandatory risk, you have to take the risk. There are assets here. I have to do this investment. Either I have a risk, so, we have to deal with the transmission lines and substations. We have to invest this. And there are efficiency projects too. And I can do, and also if I deal with this, I can do all the rest that is mandatory. And this is linked to profitability and assets. The more I invest here, the more efficient we have. Efficiency is when we have the extra mile. And this is the QR. The more we have invested, these are BP zeros, investments to automate the network, our grid. We gain efficiency here, technology. All of these investments are critical because they only give us better assets, but they also reduce OPEX and all of these things that are captured here. And this allows us, in terms of profitability, this allows these investments to be even more profitable than others. So the more we invest, the more profitable these investments are. I understand there is you have to monitor this project by project. So we've referred to this, but I think it's important to talk about this. I remember this discussion with some people in this room when we began talking about grids. We joined distribution to transmission. Transmission has to do with investments. You reduce risk, and then you have streaming cash flows. This is CGSF. That's how you looked at generation, right? Okay. But here, the transmission is different because it's a network, it's a grid. It involves new investments and drags new investments, new lines. This is relatively unique, and it depends on the profile location of these lines. This is very clear in Goiás. There, the bays are old lines, so they need improvements, and they will be linked to this investment. It's as though it were a BRA of distribution. It's anchored in a regulation. I attract investments that seem very high in the first range. Our lots in Santa Catarina, 21, the Q lot, these are lots that still haven't been concluded. They already had investments. They were already having requests for reinforcement investments, and these caps are completely different than we see in the bid. Here we have our expectation for investments during these years. Here we're talking about our plans all the way to the end of construction, which would be Goiás, almost 1.9 billion. Confirmed, we already have this confirmed. When we look at 2021, what we're going to do in 2022, we have business, also some numbers confirmed for 2023. This is not strange, it exists. And when you have this in your models, there is a strong difference in terms of profitability when we look at this. This is not true for all lines, but most of them. CapEx, which is implicit here, It is completely different than CapEx that we have in greenfield projects, where the regulatory block is only good for the initial bid price, right? So here it is anchored in the it is not anchored in regulations here, so things are completely different here. So last slide here. This is a message oftentimes we give when we sit with investments and market analysts, what we want to do, right? Here we try to do this, show you this in a graphic way, a simpler way, but we say things here what we want to do, beginning with distribution. Our vision is a profitable future business that we want to reinforce. We want to invest from here. We're going to allocate more resources here. Transmission, reinforce, and also we will apply assets rotation. We will invest, continue investing, and we want to invest all completely in the next year. Solar reinforcement, clearly this is important. Solar is anchored to clients. Clients are the future of the market. The market is centered in clients. We know this is an area, commercial. This is an area that is constantly delivers value to our companies. Here we have the last one, the water. We want to reduce our exposure in water plants. And even because of this, we want to reduce our climatic risk here. We also believe that water exposure is a climatic risk exposure too. So here we want to say we want to reduce exposure. These flows will help to reinvest in distribution, transmission, and solar. And also Peseng, our global CEO, also spoke to us about this. He wants to have a 100% green company. So we want to have this consolidated by 2021. We want to divest by 2025. Now we will go to the future. So we have something that is strange here to the left, but intends to be the union of ideas. On one side, we have an open spirit. We want to be leaders in innovation. The 8 companies, the companies Carlos referred to, we're investing. We want to be leader in the transformation of the market. Secondly, we want to grow. And that is why it is our goal to, by 2025, we want an average to annual growth of 8 to 10% of our EBITDA. Third place, we want to be sustainable. And to be sustainable is synonym to applying good practices, good policies, ESG policies. It is applied in actions and not only in words.
The fourth component is that we want to be connected. And by connecting, we mean to increase our investments that was basically in grids in terms of improvement of efficiency and expansion of the grids. And finally, solar. We want to have 1 gigawatts of EDP Brazil alone. EDP Brazil wants to have 1 gigawatt of capacity in 2025. Our 50% participation in the big plants or in distribute generation of solar. This is our future, and I want to count on you, both those who are in person and those who are watching us from the webcast. Thank you. Thank you, João. Thank you all for your presentation. Now we will open the Q&A session. We have microphones. I will start with the people here in person, and then we will go to the questions asked through the chat. So we have one over there, Pedro Manfredinho. Hello, thank you for the event. I'm here. My question about the opening of the market. This will be an important event for the sector. And I'd like to know how the company is dealing with the added return of all the lines today and after the opening. You mentioned how this opening can impact the business, the user experience will be important, but how the company can generate higher returns than today in a totally liberalized market, and how the vertical business will facilitate this. Well, where are the potentials here? Okay. We would like very much to sell electricity to the individuals in the city of São Paulo, but we can't. Those who have their home or apartment in São Paulo, they have their distributor. But that's why we see with good eyes the possibility of opening the market. Why? Because EDP Brasil, a Brazilian company integrated to an international group, has real experience of all markets on how this liberalization happened and how we acquire, how we won the market. We believe our capacity of gaining, positions. That's why we are favorable. And we are also the distributors. This liberalization of the market will be favorable to distributor. The distributor that has that captures, or collects the money from the clients and then distribute to the system 80% of the money and has the same risks of default. The distributor wants to concentrate in the management of infrastructure. The infrastructure must be prepared to benefit from the efficiency. So that's why, as distributor, we are also favorable to the liberalization of the market. We can sell energy to the individual in the large Brazilian cities, and distributors in our distribution areas. We have two, but we want to have more, and this is what we think. Next question, Marcelo, please. Hello, thank you for the opportunity. I have two questions. One related to PECEM. You want to disconsolidate in 2025, and maybe you can hire a plant like PECEM in a capacity auction. Are you talking with the government about this? Because in the next business, you can have the source on coal or gas, and you want to sell it in the future. How can you sell a non-contracted asset? And the other point, looking to the privatization of Eletrobras, the process is advancing. You have a giant company with a lot of energy that is not contracted. So I ask for the HR how the companies in the sector will be able to protect themselves from a large company like Eletrobras with the capacity of paying very well to the executives. They want to build a big team with a big market. Do you intend to change the remuneration of the commercial team, more aggressive and more similar to the trading activity? Well, in relation to PSAN, we will deconsolidate it until 2025. Until, but it can be before. In case we have the opportunity, our desire is to participate in the auction that will happen by the end of this year. We want to participate and we want to win. It comply the obligations of this auction with the electrical system. This consolidate doesn't mean to run away. Run away means I don't want to know about Pesing anymore. I will run away. No, no. This consolidate is to apply less capital, and you have several ways to do this that add value to have another availability contract. Our will finish in May 27, and we want to extend for more 15 years, maybe. And in relation to the other question, we don't have any problems with the private Eletrobras. We cheer all privatizations since from Rio Grande do Sul to the north of Brazil, going through Santa Catarina. It's good to have private companies. It's good that Eletrobras be privatized. We build this market with large multinationals, much larger than us, that are here in Brazil. So we are able to compete with Eletrobras as well. And we have the, it's okay. Did he answer your question? No, we won't have any problems. They, they are peers. They are competitors. We don't have any problem. We like to have Eletrobras be privatized, and so we will have also other partnerships with it. Any other question, Andrea? Good afternoon. I have two questions. The first is a follow-up from Manfredini's question in relation to the opening of the market. What is your expectation concerning the speed of opening, not only the Enel's plan, but what can come from the legislative? Do you think that the market will adapt to this possible disparity in due terms? And the second, you presented how much you advance in the rebuy program. What do you intend to do? Do you want to have another program if this ends, or do you have any expectations of continue to buy? Well, I will start with your second question. We have a current an ongoing rebuy or repurchase program. We want to finish it. We don't have any decision on a third rebuy repurchase program. We will continue, and the controller shareholder will hold 57%. The controller shareholder has no intention of taking out the EDP Brazil from the stock exchange. All the actions is that EDP Brazil will continue a listed company with a substantial liquidity. Right now, EDT Brazil, approximately 43% is free float. In the past, we had free floats much lower than that, and we keep the free float, keeping high liquidity. This was the first question. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, good question, genuinely. And my recommendation is do it well instead of doing it fast. Technically, I understand that Brazil needs to address several subjects. For instance, how do you divide, the electric charge or burden in every area before liberalization? And who wants liberalization? But who recognize that right now you have to address these subjects that, in our opinion, are not well addressed, because liberalization must keep a sustainable system, and sustainability goes through addressing the fundings of the general charge of the electric system. Any other question? Daniel. Hello. Uh, Can you elaborate on the renewal process of the distribution concession? How can you guarantee that this process will not be expensive? Okay, this is touching on the central point. The distribution issues are very important. We need to work together with the association of the distributor companies. This is not a problem of EDP Brazil. It's a problem of all private distributors. We have legislation for this to prove that, whether to be approved by the Senate and then the approval of the president. But anyway, all news, we are following them very, very closely, and they are extremely favorable, with the possibility of extending the non-expendable conditions. The next month will show that my optimism, there is a reason for it. I have another question. Not the capex for renewable and the objective of growing solar. We started with several players about new projects, and they are, breaking this solar investments because of the capex. They want to have a capex very attractive, especially in the project you have of Monte Verde, but you were saying that you will sign in new PPAs and develop a new solar projects. How can this be feasible with the capex level we have now? Well, does it close? And another question. I think that in Bradesco's conference you mentioned possible interest in M&A transaction or action, um, then it could be Selgi. Can you comment on this? Well, first, CAPEX must, meet, otherwise you won't have any investment. At the moment of the investment decision, we need to have at least 60% of the CAPEX must be covered with long-term contracts, PPAs. If they do not reach the NPV on the PPA contract, if it does not reach it, there is no investment. We showed this in Monte Verde, and we will have this in the next two projects of this year. Why we didn't disclose it? Because we still have some points to discuss. I would say that in the most difficult moments, just like this one of the input prices, that our partnership with EDP Renováveis is more important. But you are right. The market is more complex, more difficult. Inputs are more expensive. With the devalorization helped us the inputs not to be so expensive. But in a partnership with a global leader, we helped a lot, like we helped the EDP Renováveis in the Brazilian market. On the distributors that go to the market, we analyze them. And now, there are processes ongoing, but they are processes that are under secrecy that I cannot disclose. We have time for two more questions. I have a question related to the liberalized market. We see a great growth in the centralized distribution. When you have full liberalization, this dynamic will change. So how companies will think after 2025 in the expansion of their matrix or adding solar or a wind project in their organic expansion of the portfolio. I will build my project with the expectation that I will close this contract, which is different from the dynamic of today, and it changes your management risk. And the second is about the competitive processes we have recently, greenfield or not. We see a great competition. The processes start with 8 players, and then they end up with 4. So in an M&A process, how EDP has a differential to compete with attractive returns. Recently, you went through this. Can you elaborate on that, please?
We are a company where we prefer low risk, and even if at the cost of lower profitability. This discontracting is a word that doesn't is not in our alphabet. We have to be hired. So in the past, hiring was done via an electric system, contracting. Currently and in the future, contracting will be done by PPAs, private and public partnerships. But it is not our policy. It's not going to be a policy from somebody that decides to invest in solar generation. And then after investing, then they go to the market to try to sell it. That's why we are including we're considering a decentralized solar energy where we called shared and remote. Here we will prefer to enter into an investment where we have the level of safety where we know we have clients here for our plants. De, uh, Decontracting, no. Our first capacity to win and lose in M&As. We won an M&A last year, the privatization of CLT. We lost the privatization of CL3LT. We have capacity. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. We try. Last year, we gained a transmission lot in a bid, but we lost others. We want to learn to always improve so that this year we can make new business in the secondary market. We want this. And also we want to participate to win in the transmission bids. And that is why part of the EDP people here in this room work every day so that we can be competitive here. Because of the time, we're going to stop our Q&A session. Most of the questions that we received in the chat have already been answered here. And the other questions we will be able to answer afterwards via the IR. So we will close our transmission parting from now. I would like to say something. When you entered the building here, you saw there were works of art. You saw a Mona Lisa and other paintings. There were 4 paintings. I would like to give you the name of the artist, Eduardo. It is the reproduction of very famous paintings. One is the Mona Lisa, the other is the Scream by Munch. And he did this with plastic bags. So these are paintings done with plastic bags. And you notice the surfing plotch, which is done with plastic bottles, removed from the northern coast beaches and the sea. And there, this surfing board was built, which is a project that we financed. It is a project that is from Maresias Beach, where we joined the ecological issue. We removed the bottles from the sea because we used these boards so that youngsters, low-income families can practice this fantastic sport in Maresias. And now we can close. So we would like to close our transmission now, and I would like to ask everybody to remain here for some messages. Thank you very much. And
Nosso acabou. Não sei.